Moving shadows in Dublin's poetry scene. In Dublin's vibrant cultural heart, two university students, Frances and Bobby, are making their mark in the poetry and performance scene. They share a unique bond, one that goes beyond just best friends. Frances, a talented but understated writer, prefers to stay in the shadows, letting Bobby, her charismatic, outspoken former girlfriend, take the spotlight. Together, they create an alliance of the mind, with their words weaving elaborate tapestries on stage. One day, during a poetry event, they catch the attention of a local photographer, Melissa. She is intrigued by their dynamic and their evocative verses. Melissa invites them into her world, introducing them to Dublin's elite circle. It is an environment filled with intellectual discourse, opportunities, and challenges that neither of the young women have encountered before. Unknown to them, this chance meeting would pave the way for tangled relationships and emotional upheaval. While their friendship anchors them, Frances and Bobby find themselves drawn into the labyrinth of Melissa's life. Melissa's husband, Nick, a handsome actor, sparks intrigue and unexpected desires. Frances, in particular, finds herself emotionally ensnared by Nick, and this newfound attachment threatens to dismantle the careful equilibrium between her and Bobby. As they navigate the uncharted waters of their individual identities and the intricacies of love, friendship, and jealousy, Dublin forms the backdrop of their emotional journey. And so, Frances and Bobby find themselves on the precipice of changes that may redefine them and their friendship forever. Bookend by poetry readings and caught between the rhythm of literature and life's unpredictable dramas, this is the universe that they inhabit. Showcasing a vivid picture of the dilemmas of youth set against the backdrop of the Dublin cultural scene, the story paints an upfront portrayal of the insecurities, passions, and tumultuous engagements of modern relationships. Through the subtle examination of Frances and Bobby's experiences, the narrative offers an intimate depiction of the complexities of connections and the evolution of their identities amidst enthralling encounters and heart-wrenching revelations. The lure of the untouched heart. As Frances and Bobby plunge deeper into Melissa's glamorous world, they are introduced to a life of privileged intellectual discourse, lavishly thrown parties, and complex adult emotions. Frances's fascination with Nick, Melissa's handsome actor-turned-writer husband, intensifies. He becomes an enigma that she desperately wants to understand and decode. Nick, seemingly aloof and disinterested in everything around him, unintentionally fuels Frances's intrigue. While Bobby basks in Melissa's attention and her praise for her raw poetic talent, Frances finds herself drawn towards the unsuspecting Nick. A dangerous dance of emotions erupts between them, muddying the waters of her friendship with Bobby. This clandestine affection she feels for Nick casts a long shadow over her bond with Bobby. Intriguingly, Frances discovers a kindred spirit in Nick, a fellow underdog in a world that values flamboyance over quiet charm. Their bond strengthens when Nick opens up to her about his marital woes and mental health struggles. Their shared vulnerabilities lay the groundwork for a connection that is both passionate and catastrophic at the same time. Frances's relationship with Nick evolves from casual acquaintances to secret lovers, adeptly concealed behind the guise of innocence. Their liaisons, filled with unspoken words and unacknowledged emotions, ripple through the fabric of their interconnected lives. This uncharted emotional terrain fractures Frances's relationship with Bobby and brings to question the boundaries of friendship, love, and fidelity. As Frances immerses herself more in the forbidden relationship, her world starts revolving around Nick. She endures the uncertainty of her secret relationship, the guilt of betraying Bobby's trust, and the knowledge of being the other woman. Yet, she cannot cut herself loose from the complexities of her emotions for Nick. In a world where love and friendships were supposed to be her solace, Frances finds herself tangled in the intricate web of unrequited love, hidden emotions, and secret affairs. The precariousness of her situation is a palpable undercurrent that courses through the narrative, silently shaping the journey of all characters involved. Shattering mirrors and broken taboos. As the narrative unfolds, Frances's clandestine affair with Nick becomes a dominant force in her life. It becomes a double-edged sword, simultaneously exhilarating in its emotional depth and agonizing due to its clandestine nature. The glowing embers of love and lust between Frances and Nick create a secret world, far removed from the reality of their regular lives. On the other hand, Bobby and Melissa share their intellectual bond, apparently oblivious to the growing intimacy between Frances and Nick. However, as time progresses, cracks start appearing in their friendship. Bobby, tactfully analytical and insightful, perceives the imperceptible signs of change in Frances and begins challenging their friendship's tenets. Her concerns amplify when she learns about Frances's father's ill health and her consequent financial crisis, neither of which Frances discussed with her. Frances tries to navigate these excruciating developments with stoic pretense. But her world begins to crumble when her father's condition worsens, and consequentially, her financial problems escalate. Amidst these challenging circumstances, Frances hides behind a mask of make-believe indifference, refusing to share her burdens with others, especially Bobby. At this turning point, the narrative takes a sharp turn. Frances's thrilling rendezvous with Nick escalates to a state where love, monetary concerns, and a crumbling friendship collide, leading to life-altering revelations and decisions. In the midst of all the upheaval, a profound truth emerges: Frances's self-destructive tendencies, the root from which her other problems spring. From her secret affair with Nick, her aloofness with Bobby, her untold struggles with her father's ill health, and increasing financial woes, a larger picture of a tragically flawed and profoundly human character is painted. Thus, uncovering complexities unknown and dimensions unexplored in the ever-evolving narrative. Awakening the ghosts of past bonds. Having immersed herself in a secret relationship with Nick, Frances confronts the complicated emotions of guilt and pleasure. As the veil of secrecy lifts, the illicit bond both exhilarates and disturbs her. The joy in their stolen moments contrasts starkly with the reality of their duplicity. Further complication arises when their relationship turns from an emotional affair into a physical one, sending waves of repercussions through their interconnected lives. Concurrently, Bobby, with her uncanny knack for observation, suspects a strained tension. She begins fishing for the hidden truths behind Frances's mysterious behavior. The emotional threshold tests their friendship, bringing new highs and nerve-wracking lows. The established equilibrium of their bond tilts precariously. A pivotal twist comes when Frances develops a mysterious pain, the cause of which baffles doctors. The persistent agony parallels her emotional turmoil, rendering her vulnerable. While grappling to maintain control over her life, Frances is forced to confront the impending revelation of her tumultuous affair with Nick. The adage, "the past always catches up with you," becomes alarmingly accurate when the secret of Frances's affair is revealed to Bobby in a striking confrontation. The revelation serves as a harsh blow, setting in motion a chain of events shaking the foundations of their friendships and relationships. Amidst the imminent explosion of secrets and imminent heartbreaks, the narrative takes the readers through a maze of scorned trust, bridled passions, and heartbreaking truth. These sudden revelations demand a new landscape of relationships, compelling the characters to re-evaluate their earlier notions of love, friendship, and loyalty. In dealing with the aftermath of their disrupted lives, the characters are forced to grapple with their sordid pasts and contemplate their unsure futures. The ripples of revealed secrets. Frances's hitherto hidden affair with Nick brutally comes to light, radically changing the dynamics among all the friends. Bobby, hurt and betrayed, deals with a whirlwind of emotions, from anger to confusion. Nick, on the other hand, is compelled to confront the complexities of his relationship with Frances and its subsequent impact on his marriage with Melissa. Frances's guilt surfaces powerfully, making her realize the magnitude of the damage caused by her actions. Wrestling with the aftermath of the revelation, she faces an avalanche of emotions and her physical pain escalates, mirroring her emotional distress. Her undiagnosed condition becomes central to her life, as the pain persists, resisting all medical examinations and treatments. Amidst all the turbulence, Melissa remains the calm eye of the storm. Her character reveals an unexpected depth of understanding. Although hurt, she takes the revelation of her husband's affair surprisingly well, showing a maturity that leaves the others floundering. Things get further complicated when Frances discloses her health predicament to Nick. Already overwhelmed by the multifaceted repercussions of their affair, he struggles with the guilt of not being there for Frances, further blurring the lines between guilt and genuine concern for her. Tensions rise, complicating their entangled relationships. The undercurrents of their collective guilt and shame twist the narrative into eddier waters, forcing them to make difficult choices. Amidst the emotional wreckage, the characters come to terms with the drastic changes. Throughout this turbulent journey, the question of what could be salvaged from the ruins of their damaged relationships keeps the reader on tenterhooks, the suspense simmering just beneath the surface. Figuring out the labyrinth of love and pain. Both emotionally and physically afflicted, Frances attempts to salvage what's left of her bonds. Simultaneously, she battles escalating health concerns that doctors cannot diagnose, further embodying her silent suffering. Despite their tumultuous past, Bobby stays a pillar of support throughout her medical ordeal, their friendship defying the strains of betrayal. With their affair no longer under wraps, Frances and Nick struggle through the labyrinth of their shared and individual guilt. The revelation exacerbates Nick's marital life with Melissa, pushing him into an abyss of regret and introspection. His involvement with Frances becomes a battleground between his inclination and responsibilities, pulling him in divergent directions. In Melissa's poised response to her husband's affair, her character acquires further depth. She radiates an understanding that ultimately determines the course of her relationship with Nick. Unexpectedly, she bridges the initial bitterness, opening avenues for mediating their disrupted lives. In contrast, Frances's relationship with Nick lingers through incoherent ends, haunted by their betrayal's aftereffects. The narrative infuses the raw depiction of Frances's emotional breakdown as she contemplates her fractured life. Her clandestine rendezvous with Nick transition into a fierce struggle of heartbreak, guilt, and remorse. Navigating the highs and lows of emotional isolation, they're forced to introspect, to face the implications of a disrupted life. Their obscured way forward contours the persistence of resilience amidst crumbling relationships and scrutinized morality. The narrative plunges into the challenging journeys of guilt-ridden characters as they figure out their paths individually and collectively. One can't help but be gripped by their ongoing struggles, echoing the complexities of human relationships. Redemption and reconciliation in ruins. In the journey of sorting through the wreckage of their personal relationships, Frances and Bobby find themselves grappling with a cat's cradle of feelings. The pain of betrayal and consequences of their actions, intertwined with guilt, remorse, and a hostile sense of loss, forms a potent backdrop to their individual personal growth. Meanwhile, Frances's unresolved health issues continue to seep into her daily life, mirroring her unresolved emotional turmoil. The challenging path to diagnosis and her ensuing hospitalization becomes a metaphor for her internal battle to rectify her life's complications. Frances and Nick's relationship undergoes a transformation under the burden of guilt and remorse. In an ironic twist, their initial clandestine encounters evolve into a comprehensive awareness about each other's imperfections. Nick's fragility and vulnerability lay exposed, as does Frances's inability to process her emotions healthily. Throughout these intense experiences, Bobby stands by Frances, despite the residual hurt and betrayal. When Frances's health takes a turn for the worse, Bobby's unexpected but wholehearted support shines a light on their complex, yet profound friendship. Melissa, still moving with grace through the ruins of her failed marriage, emerges as an unlikely source of wisdom and strength. She adds a depth to the narrative with her philosophical and observant nature. Raw, real, and strikingly accurate, the characters push through their mistakes in search of absolution, maturing through their personal crises. As they learn the hard way about love, friendship, and the blurred lines that separate them, they bear the marks of their tumultuous journey towards redemption and reconciliation. The emotions run high as one navigates through the intricate labyrinth of their disrupted lives. Resurgence from the remnants. In the final turn of events, life offers each character a chance to reconsider their choices, to move towards closure, or to reinvent their bonds. Frances finally reaches a diagnosis for her mystifying illness and begins a slow journey towards recovery. The physical healing mirrors her mental healing as she learns to accept her actions and their repercussions. Frances and Bobby undergo a revealing confrontation, finally addressing the elephant in the room. Over a decade of close friendship equips them with the tools to navigate their complex emotions, remorse, and resentment, and come to terms with their past actions. Parallelly, Frances's bond with Nick finds a terminus. Their passionate affair comes to a slow, simmering halt as the stark reality of their situation dawns upon them. Nick chooses to restore his relationship with Melissa, leaving Frances in a mire of self-realization and acceptance. Melissa, the seemingly unscathed one, reveals her deeper, insightful layers of pain, acceptance, and resilience throughout the narrative climax. Her maturity in managing the whole situation is commendable and offers lessons to the turbulent younger souls around her. Despite the shared trials and tribulations, this part of Frances, Bobby, Nick, and Melissa's lives culminates on a hopeful note. The hard-learned wisdom shapes their future interactions, hinting at tweaked dynamics and matured perspectives. As the narrative winds down, the characters stand at crossroads. They hold the ashes of their past and the promise of their future, having journeyed through a tumultuous curve of love, friendship, betrayal, and forgiveness. The complex maze of their relationships unfolds into a newfound insight. Finally, the plot unravels a faceted understanding of love and loyalty, leaving the characters and the readers alike with a lingering contemplation on the essence of human relations.